Welcome to Duality Check, the podcast where two brothers embark on a journey through the realms of scientific inquiry, the mysteries of the past, and the uncharted frontiers of spirituality. Join us as we explore the wonders of our world and beyond, all while embracing the roles of curious bystanders rather than experts. Together, we'll unravel the tapestry of existence, blending the dichotomies of knowledge and wonder. Get ready to question, ponder, and delve into the dualities that shape our understanding of reality on Duality Check. I'm Drew.
And I'm Dean, and welcome to episode number 86. Whoop, whoop. I think we're doing some more alien mummy stuff.
Yeah, we got some clips queued up from Jesse Michaels' big documentary type video on the Nazca mummies when he went down to Peru and did some research of his own with some of the lead researchers on the project.
Right.
Kind of interviewed him and was in the meetings and saw the scans. And
so you got some clips from that. I think you got some clips from his interview with Joe Rogan.
Yeah. And then some where Joe was talking to other people about the Nazca mummies as well.
Right.
So yeah, we'll just play some of those and talk about it. And I got another one that's kind of cool, but we'll save that for a little later probably. Yeah, I don't think we have any messages this week. I didn't see any, unless you did.
I didn't check on YouTube.
I didn't see any that jumped out.
But I didn't see anything on like Facebook or anything. Oh, we did get a message from Sis.
Yeah, we did. She was like, "You want feedback? Here's some feedback."
Yeah, let me pull that up. Here's what she said. This one.
Yeah.
She said, "Nice episode. You asked for feedback. Here you go. When you are on a topic I'm not too interested in, I still listen because I just love hearing my brother's voices, but I'm biased. As for subjects, when is the sacred geometry episode coming?"
Yeah, we talked about that. We should.
Yeah, that's a good question. I just don't feel like I know enough about it to do an episode on it. I did the one workshop with Randall Carlson. You know what? I need to go over that workshop again. And then he recommended this book about sacred geometry by Nigel Pennick. I still remember the guy's name. I have the book. So what I need to do is go over the workshop again, read that book, and then I'll be ready to do an episode. So
okay.
But that might be a month or two out just because we got the move coming up and stuff. And
yeah.
So before I can get through all that.
Yeah, that's one of the main reasons we haven't been like fully preparing, and just work and life are busy and outside of the podcast. So we haven't been a lot of fully preparing episodes like we had been. Too. Yeah, Dean's been traveling a lot for work.
She also says, "Nice interpretation of the tarot card pull. You guys are good at your interpretation and applying it to your current situation. More guests. The G-Man interview was really good. Keep up the good work."
Thank you, Amy. I agree. I like that G-Man episode. I think we had a good time doing that one.
Yeah.
It'd be fun.
Yeah, in our new space, it'll probably, I'm hoping we can get it set up in such a way that we can add a third pretty easily.
Mm-hmm. For in-person guests, and then
for in-person guests.
We got to test out some features for we had talked about doing some testing for getting online guests And
we've been talking about that for a while, and that goes back to the tarot card bowl last week because it's something we've been talking about but not like moving on.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, we still got we did have at least one person reach out, at least somebody affiliated with one person reach out for an interview.
So if we get that one, that'll be awesome.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, at some point one of us needs to make it our job to like sit and the two of us should sit and like make a list of everyone we can think of. Mm-hmm. And then one of us needs to like go through and like figure out how to contact people, put out contacts and see what comes back, you know?
Yeah. Find out who and how to contact these people. Cause sometimes it's like, you got to go through a third party or some sort of agent or publisher if you're going to go to somebody that's more famous.
If it's someone trying to like promote a book, then you might want to go through a publisher.
Yeah.
If it's an academic, maybe you can go through their like EDU emails with whatever university they're with. Some people probably you just need connections to get to.
Which is another thing on our list of things to do is to go to some more events.
Right. Some people you can probably like DM through Twitter and stuff, but yeah, it's probably going to be a grab bag.
Yeah.
Of all those different approaches. So yeah, that's all something we need to learn.
Yeah, and maybe some people in our lives that want to talk or interested in talking, and maybe we'll find some more people like G-Man.
Yeah.
Near and dear to us.
Well, he's down to do this.
Do another episode?
Do it on a regular basis. Well, not like
a semi-regular basis.
Semi-regular basis, yeah.
That'd be cool.
A recurring guest.
Yeah. Get more into some more of the Templar stuff, or not Templar,
the masonry stuff. Yeah. That was funny. We were hanging out at some point after one of the shows, or after that show, and he was like, "Did you notice how deftly I avoided some of those questions?" I was like, "Yeah, I did actually."
Mm-hmm. Well, like, I was pretty sure I mentioned it, how like there's clearly things he didn't want to say.
Yeah.
Or was, tiptoeing around.
Well, there's certain things he's just not allowed to say as a Mason.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure. Yeah. I think anytime we may have approached gray area that he wasn't sure if he could talk about it or not, he would just change the subject or grab onto something else we were talking about. But
yeah, exactly. Smart on his part.
For sure.
Appreciate that, Amy. We will get on that sacred geometry and we have more guests in the future.
Totally. Let me just do a real quick check to see if there's any YouTube comments. Not seeing anything new there. Oh, hey. 4 days ago from Marzimus says asteroid bandages with a hand clap emoji. Which video is that? Oh, in the comets and alien mummies. Nice.
Did we read that one from 2 months ago? I mean, we liked it, but I don't know if we read that one?
Yeah, he was talking about that we had him thinking deeper. This was on the Harold Malmgren episode, which is actually pretty old.
Yeah, a couple months ago now.
Yeah. Well, I think this was a couple months ago, and it was a couple months ago that he listened to one. This Malmgren episode was episode 69. Other people 2 months ago were commenting on number 77. So.
Oh, right. He was listening to a further back one, which is cool.
Yeah, that is cool. Anyway, thanks, Marsmas. I don't know what you mean by asteroid bandages. Oh.
Maybe he's talking about the three-eye atlas.
Well, the three-eye atlas and the bandages being the mummy.
Yeah. Asteroid bandages. Yeah, he commented on our thumbnail there.
Yeah, that's good. Thanks, dude. All right.
Cool.
So let's hop into this. You actually brought a few weeks back, and we haven't gone over it yet. This is a post from Skywatch, UAP, Skywatch Signal. Is this the official Skywatchers?
I don't know that they are the official Skywatchers, but I think these are the people who kind of watch closely on all of the UAP difference, like UAP stuff.
But it's not like the Jake Barber organization.
I don't think so. I mean, they got a blue check there, so I don't know if that's.
Well, yeah,
you can pay for it now. That's true. Yeah,
which we need to do at some point.
Yeah.
No, this is just yeah. Anyway, So,
but yeah, this is a thread of just going down and talking about all the different crypto-terrestrials and the whole hypothesis about how the crypto-terrestrial theory is like, told basically, and it goes over a bunch of different. So there's a whole thread here going, 1, 2, 3, 4, all the.
All right, you want to read it? Or you want me to read it?
Yeah, can you bring it over here? I can read them.
Well, I need it over here if we're going to show it to the people.
All right, maybe I'll just do this.
Yeah,
that's good. So yeah, this is the first one here. The Harvard Scientists Crypto-Terrestrial Hypothesis. So this is apparently from Harvard Scientists. What if UAP aren't aliens at all, but an ancient presence that's been here with us all along? Philosophy and Cosmology 2024 published a peer-reviewed paper laying out 4 versions of this idea.
Okay.
2 here is most assume UAP equal aliens, or
I don't know, ETH, extraterrestrial hypothesis is probably what that stands for.
Probably. But Tim Lomas, Brenden Case, and Michael Masters argue we may need to think closer to home. What if the intelligence behind UAP is crypto-terrestrial, hidden here on the Earth, undetected, possibly for millions of years?
Okay, so when he says most assume UAP equals aliens, right? And aliens, this is like the classic explanation, the whole Fermi paradox thing, the whole idea of a species evolving on a planet like our own around a different star elsewhere,
reaching
us, right? That's the sort of vanilla alien extraterrestrial hypothesis.
Yeah, when most people hear UAP or UFO, they just immediately think alien, extraterrestrial alien.
Right. Well, the words get weird here, right? Because alien just means like from somewhere else, right? And so a lot of even the quote unquote crypto-terrestrial theories technically would still be alien, like, because even like we use the word alien to refer to like immigrants and stuff. It can refer
to others.
Yeah, well, like people from outside of whatever
zone or group or
boundary you're drawing, right? So if the boundary is the Earth, then from outside the Earth,
right? But
also, if you focus on that deeper, the boundary is also now. So if it's outside of now, in a sense, that's alien too.
Right.
Like if I got in a time machine and went back to 1800, I am an alien to the 1800s.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Even though I'm still from planet Earth.
And same for a single time traveler coming to our time. They are an alien to us now because everything about our world and them in it would just not be anywhere near what we think of as somebody, a current, like even just 100 years ago, think about just going back in time 100 years, you would seem so alien,
right,
to 100 years ago.
Well, I mean, what would people make of like a Northern California accent and vocabulary back in the 1800s, right? Like
they think it's hella cool.
All the likes, all the hellas, all the like our whole entire speech pattern would be alien to them. Their speech patterns would be alien to me. The communication would actually be pretty difficult.
Yep.
People had different vocabularies back then, right? Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a good point. Moving forward here. 3, they propose 4 competing scenarios. I guess chapter 1, a forgotten advanced human civilization. Chapter 2, a hidden lineage, evolved hominids, or even dinosaurs. Chapter 3, extraterrestrials or future humans who settled here long ago. Chapter 4, magical, quote-unquote, magical beings from folklore, fairies, jinn, or angels.
Okay, so these are 4 different groupings that could fall into crypto-terrestrial.
Mm-hmm. Within their
a forgotten advanced human civilization. So this would be like survivors from Atlantis or something.
Or like survivors from whatever great calamities of the past that went underground many years ago, or underwater many thousands of years ago, and are just fairly recently coming to the surface.
Yeah, so we did that. We've done multiple shows talking about the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis 12,800 years ago, right? Mm-hmm. And so if there was some sort of big extinction event, this cataclysm that struck the world back then, and if some people that turned into us basically just subsisted, but maybe others went underground or went into space and are now coming back
to find that humans didn't get wiped out, and now we're back.
Right. And so like it's their planet, but it's our planet too, right? Mm-hmm. So that would be an interesting scenario. So that's one option for these crypto-terrestrials.
Yeah, that reminds me of, I think I've told you about this before, but I don't think it was on the podcast. Maybe it was early on. But it reminds me of the show The 100, where there's a group of people, there was a nuclear fallout on Earth, nuclear bombs went off, and a group of humans, we were spacefaring at the time when this happened, and a group of humans were up on a space station up above Earth orbiting, and they survived the nuclear blasts, and they've been orbiting the Earth for hundreds of years,
waiting for it to be habitable.
And then the beginning of the show kind of basically talks about how their ship was running out of oxygen because there was some major malfunction in the ship. And so what they did is they sent down 100 prisoners that were on board the ship for various crimes, whether it be violent or non-violent, or taking too many resources when you're not allotted to those resources, stuff like that. They sent them down to Earth to see if it's habitable, because it was their last-ditch effort, because otherwise everybody dies on the ship.
Right.
And they found out the Earth is habitable, and they found out there's a vast group of people that were immune to the radiation, and they survived being able to live on the land. And there's another group of humans that are like the relics of the United States government when that happened, that went underground in bunkers and have been living underground in societies for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And those two groups have been fighting, on the land and off land for, hundreds of years without anybody knowing. And when they came down, just all of this stuff came up, and there was all this fighting and all this stuff to try to regain. We've talked about this before.
It's
a cool show. It's kind of a CW show, so like the acting is not like the best. It's not the best acting, but if you get past it a little bit, it gets a little better.
By the way, I've been meaning to ask you. There's a couple times I found myself sitting bored at home, and I want to start a new show, and I keep trying to remember the name of the other show you recommended a while back.
Oh yeah,
and I can never remember the name.
Oh no, I'm gonna forget it. It was the Netflix show.
Yeah, well, just marinate on that if it comes to you.
I will.
There's a book I listened to called Seven Eves that also had a similar storyline to what you're talking about with the 100, except for a little more extreme, where there was impacts. Basically, the moon blows up.
Oh, wow.
And it's a certain amount of time until the material's going to come down and start striking Earth and just turn Earth into a fireball for millennia.
Yeah.
And then afterwards, they go back and they land and they find people
that survived.
It goes forward like millennia through the story.
Oh, wow.
And it's so extreme that like people shouldn't have survived, but they did somehow, and they don't know how.
I love those type of stories because it's like all like super like fascinating because it's also possible to happen. Like,
Right.
We don't know when or what's going to happen to humanity or the Earth at any given time.
It's a great premise for sci-fi because it's the type of thing that makes your imagination want to chew on it and be like, what would happen if that was the case?
I remember now. Altered carbon.
Yeah. All right. I got to write this down.
I'll keep going here.
Well, I wanted to point out the next one too. The hidden lineage.
Oh yeah,
what was that?
Evolved hominids or even dinosaurs. So this reminds me of the cryptids. You know, so like Bigfoot, mermaids, like if differently evolved hominids, right? So like when humans were in our early stages of development, like what if there were just splits, like part of our lineage remained in the water and still formed into intelligent beings over time.
Right.
And what if some of them went into caves and still developed intelligently over time? And, you know, obviously us, right?
Right. Or even,
so there's like even
split. Dinosaurs it's pointing out here, right? So like
the reptilians and...
Right. Like maybe some of the dinosaurs, I mean, they were on this planet for millions of years before their extinction event happened. So with how rare and crazy perfect scenario you need for fossils to form, the only evidence we have of them really is the fossils. And so who's to say we already know that there are tons of dinosaur species we have yet to discover because we just haven't found fossils for them.
Yeah. Well, and there's scientists that say that like there are certain dinosaurs that we're finding that are closer to us than they are from some of the oldest dinosaurs that we're finding.
Right.
Like they're in the millions of years as far back as they go, they are still closer to our time frame than they are to the first dinosaurs that may have been on Earth.
Right. And we already know that some of the smartest other species are the birds, which are descendant from dinosaurs. So if birds can get as smart as crows and stuff in just the amount of time it's been since the dinosaurs, like imagine how much time the dinosaurs themselves had and all the different branches of species that they had.
Adaptability and the abilities that too, because there's so many different abilities that animals seem to have that we don't, whether it be like their eyesight or their sense of smell or their cloaking abilities or like different things that they have and what that might look like if they have millions of years to evolve into some sort of hominid like creature. Right. And like, could they possibly have some sort of like ability to cloak themselves or remain hidden for thousands or millions of years in plain sight?
Yeah, or if they went underground to survive, or if they went into space to survive, or to the moon or to Mars or something like that, right?
Yeah, maybe they're out traveling and they're like, let's go check back on our homies back on there. Oh, crap, this is a whole different species.
I think the CH is Crypto-Terrestrial Hypothesis 1.
Hominid?
Crypto-Terrestrial Hypothesis.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah, maybe.
So CH3 is extraterrestrials or future humans who settled here long ago.
Which is kind of a crazy thought. Future humans settling here long ago.
The extraterrestrials is kind of like Anunnaki who settled here long ago, right? Like that would fall under that.
And since they've been here for longer than we have, then...
Right, but future humans who settled here long ago, I think it just means future humans because they would be us.
Well...
I mean, if they're from the future, then settling long ago, that just seems a little...
Not if they're...
I think it's trying to say extraterrestrials who settled here long ago or future humans.
Maybe. But the idea, though, of like future humans, right? So we get like we're in the future and our bodies have changed to look completely differently, and we have, let's say, time travel.
So they go back in the past and they settle.
Well, maybe because they know there was a calamity that happened in the future or is going to happen. So instead of trying to go to another planet, go back in time to the same planet with your new biology,
right,
and just resettle back into a past history, and then stay hidden underwater, underground, on the moon.
Okay, I see that. Right? I see that. CH4, magical beings from folklore, fairies, jinn, angels, right? So this is like the whole religious, spiritual interpretation.
Yeah.
Which I'm leaning more and more and more towards. So I haven't updated you, but I've been going through John Mack's second book.
Oh, yeah.
And so the first book was just a case study, right? Where every chapter was a different one of his clients,
right,
and his summary of his interviews with them and the growth that they went through during their therapy sessions, what was uncovered during regressions and whatnot, and just kind of an overview of every case. And there's a lot of really interesting cases in there. But the second book is more like him laying out what he feels he has learned from
all of those case studies,
all of the work he's done with experiencers.
So it's more of a amalgamation of everything.
Yeah, well, and it's more his thoughts.
His thoughts on it.
Yeah, and his analysis. And he seems to be leaning a lot more and more and more. Like there are some commonalities in the like abduction cases where things sound kind of like shamanism or like psychedelics. They sound like people, like these experiences may not be happening to these people physically,
right?
To their physical body. Like it may be their spiritual body, their astral body, whatever. It may be something like that. And that may explain the whole like being lifted up, going through walls and whatnot.
Yeah.
There's things like a weird hue of light. There's things like vibrations that people feel. Some people say specifically like they tell him that they know that they're in an altered state of consciousness when it's happening. And they know, like some people even say it's not happening to me physically.
Yeah.
Some of the people who go through the insemination and like the breeding hybrid program say that it's symbolic.
It's a symbolic impregnation or something.
Yeah. Like it's not actually that it's essentially the best that their mind can come up with as a metaphor to explain to them what is happening, but it's not actually that.
Yeah, maybe it's like an impregnation of ideas or thoughts or experience into their life.
Or maybe there's like some sort of melding of energies to create new like spiritual beings or something. And so then maybe the closest metaphor we can come up with is pregnancy, right? Because that's how we create new life here on this planet, right?
Yeah.
Anyway, it's really fascinating, and it also goes in line with like what Andrew Gallimore's work is pointing towards as well, is that because the other thing that's really similar is the experiences of like the types of beings are very similar between abduction experiences, between shamanism, between
DMT trips
and psychedelic trips and like mystical experiences,
right?
And like out of body stuff, right? So it's really common to see like human animal hybrids. It's really common to see these like gray entities, reptilian entities, mantis entities. All of those are common in all of those scenarios. And so why would that be if these are physical experiences with abductions, but not necessarily physical experiences in the other cases?
Yeah, that's so interesting. And it reminds me too, going back to like what Errol was saying and how they have these doll bodies. And like, if you were to be like taken out of this experience, of this human experience, and brought to a realm that where there's no physical entities, maybe your memories come back to you, start flooding back to you, and all your different lives or your incarnations or your doll bodies start coming back to you. Maybe these are the different creatures that you're seeing as different incarnations you've had, or like just different interpretations of the different lives you've lived all over the galaxy or universe, right?
Yeah.
Maybe that's where all these different groups of beings or depictions of beings comes from.
I'm gonna have to pull some quotes from that book when I'm done with it, because there's a lot of really good stuff in there that we need to go over on the show that are super relevant.
That'd be awesome.
But anyway, I thought that was really fascinating, and it lines up with this whole like magical interpretation of the crypto-terrestrial hypothesis.
Okay. All right. Well, why don't we take a quick break here, and then we'll continue on with this thread on X. We'll see y'all in a minute or two.
All right. We'll be right back.
I've been caught in a storm before. You turned and said to me I was out past the shore, sailing towards a dream, and I promised myself that I never set one step off my coast. Among the things to say, among the things to say, among the things to say, among the things to say. Say I would take you on, I'd take you on, I'd take you on. Say I would take you on, take you on, I'd take you on. Once I was lost in the woods, you slowly start to say, rain beat down where I stood, as I tried to find my way, and I swore to myself that I never set one step off my path. Among the things to say, among the things to say, among the things to say, among the things to say. So I would take you on, I'd take you on, I'd take you on. So I would take you on, take you on, I'd take you on. So I would take you on, I'd take you on, I'd take you on. So I would take you on, take you on, take you on. You know I was on the shore and standing at the wooden exit door, 'cause it was you that I was waiting for. Yeah, that was me standing on the shore and knocking at the wooden exit door, 'cause it was you that I was waiting for. But I would take you on, I 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 take you on. I take you on. I take you on. I take you on.
Welcome back.
All right, welcome back, y'all.
That was Stevie Nader. The song was Take You On. It was the acoustic version of the song.
It's very nice, very nice.
Heck yeah.
Hope y'all enjoyed a little break.
Dude,
Yeah.
Can we talk about this little thing about your son maybe being...
Oh my gosh, yeah. A little clairvoyant.
Yeah, this little moment.
Yeah, you want to set it up? Because I wasn't there for...
Yeah. So on Friday, our work changed hours recently, and now I get off at 4. And I was going to go to our sister's house to house sit for her. And just like maybe 30 minutes or so, maybe a little longer before I got off work, I had the thought, you know what? I'm going to stop by Mom and Dad's because my Nintendo Switch is over there and this game, Hollow Knight Silksong, just dropped. And I'm going to be away from home for the weekend, so I'm going to bring that with me so I can play the game over at her house. So I was like, all right, I'll stop by Mom and Dad's. So I get there, and my sister, who is watching your sons, is like, Sawyer knew you were coming over. And I was like, what? And she was like, yeah, so about 3:30, like about an hour ago, which was really right about the time I was at work thinking I should go to Mom and Dad's before I go home.
Yeah.
About then, like we were talking about who's picking up who and stuff because you had picked up your other son or whatever.
Yeah, my wife had came to pick up my older son to go take him to gymnastics, and I was coming to pick up my younger son, Sawyer, and yeah, I hadn't got there yet. But
yeah, so Beth was telling him this, and he was like, okay, but I'm going to wait for Uncle Dean to get here. And I don't stop by, like,
not
I
every
probably
day.
should stop by their house more often.
Yeah, but it's not every day.
But, like, I stop by, like, once every few weeks, every couple weeks. Like, I don't stop by every day. It's not a regular occurrence.
Especially at that time. Like, you might come over sometimes later if there's something going on or
and
something.
I told no one I was going over there, not
even our dad or
so no one knew I was going to come over. I had just made the decision myself, and right about the same time I made the decision is about when he had this conversation with my sister saying that I'm going to wait for Uncle Dean to come over first.
Before I leave.
Yeah, which is super weird.
And it's not that he doesn't talk about you all the time. Like, well, I mean, he doesn't talk about you all the time, but like he's mentioned you before. He's like, is Uncle Dean gonna be there? Like he knows.
Yeah.
That like when you're gonna be at a family function or something, he's like, oh yeah, Uncle Dean, and gets excited. But like, it's not every day that he like mentions you coming over. It's not like it's like every day he's like, is Uncle Dean coming over? Or
right.
Can I see Uncle Dean? Like it's not. But that is weird that he just had a thought. I'm gonna wait till Uncle Dean gets here. Like just an innocent thought of like, oh no, I'm gonna wait. I don't want to leave yet because Uncle Dean's gonna come over here. That is crazy.
It's pretty nuts. Like, because the way he put it to her, like he was like confident that I was coming over.
Yeah, I'm gonna wait till Uncle Dean comes over.
Yeah.
Like, you told me that, and I was like, whoa, like, dude, like, and we've talked about Wyatt before with some talking about potential past life type stuff, and we've talked about kids in general having more of an ability to tap into whatever it may be that's floating around, non-physical energy or ideas or thoughts that are moving around in space.
Right.
And when you have a connection, like a familial connection to other people, maybe those thoughts are more connected to each individual family member. And it may be, man, maybe he just... oh, Uncle Dean said he's coming over, so I'm going to wait for Uncle Dean to come over.
Yeah, and I wouldn't have thought much about it if Beth hadn't like dropped the time that they had that conversation. because like when she said that, I was like, that's exactly right about when I was at work deciding I was going to come over.
Yeah, no, and Beth was like, I didn't say he was coming over. I didn't know he was coming over.
Yeah.
And like, did you tell him the deal? I was like, no, like we haven't had a conversation about Uncle Dean specifically today or anything.
I didn't know I was coming over until about an hour before I came over, which was, it's just kind of weird.
Well,
it's not like definitive proof of anything.
No, but it is as solid a proof as anyone may get.
Yeah.
You just might need more of it, right? To like really solidify it or do more studies. But I truly believe that children of varying ages, but 0 to 6 or 7 maybe, are potentially tapped in and are tapped into whatever is going on outside of the physical nature of existence. I believe, and we all have this sneaky suspicion that there's something extrasensory going on around us, which we know of. There's all sorts of sensory stuff going on that we don't detect. And children are programmed over time to pick up on the physical sensory stuff that we all detect. But when they're babies, like, and when they're in the womb and they're babies and they're young, it is clear that they are sensing more than just their 5 senses.
Right.
Like, whether it be like they're staring off into a corner or they make some comment about, something over there or something, hearing something or,
Oh, dude, there was a podcast recently. I think it was Danny Jones with Ia Whiteley. Did you see that one?
I don't think I did, no.
So she is this person that I heard about first because Diana Pasulka talked about her in her second book.
Oh, okay.
She's one of these people that Diana interviewed, and I forget the connection with Ia and like the whole UFO topic, but she's very open to it. But what I found interesting about her is that she fully thinks that that we have certain abilities that basically because of the way the brain works, because the brain is the most expensive organ to run in the body,
energy-wise, yeah.
Energy-wise. So if we raise our children and we grow up in a society that teaches us to ignore certain things, then even if we have like pathways built in the brain to support those abilities, those natural senses, if we tell ourselves to ignore them, we tell ourselves they're not real, we tell ourselves that you're making things up or you're just having a bad dream type stuff, like you go through like eventually, if you're actively not making use of it, those network connections in the brain are going to start to atrophy. And then by the time you get to a certain age, you really won't be able to do that type of thing.
Yeah, then they're just vestigial. Right.
But it may be the case that in children, and maybe in the case of people like Chris Bledsoe with the whole trauma theory, right?
Or non-speaking autistic children or autistic children in general.
Right. That there are preserved these abilities to sense things, maybe.
Yeah.
In there we may have structures built for these things.
We have zero idea how our brain really functions, and we don't have 100% certainty.
We have zero idea how. Well, we have ideas how the brain functions, but we don't have 100% understanding.
Yeah, we don't have 100% certainty on any of it necessarily.
We have zero understanding of what the heck consciousness is and how it connects to the brain or how the brain creates it. And so, if we can't even understand consciousness, then how can we understand consciousness interfacing abilities within the brain, right?
Or subconscious, or all the different levels and sub-levels, and
right,
dreaming, and all these things that are just so ethereal.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, I think it's a distinct possibility, and I highly recommend that Ia Whiteley interview. It's really good.
Danny Jones, right?
She's a person who has essentially, she's like a psychologist, but for like a space psychologist, like, and an aerospace psychologist. So she has helped NASA and aerospace companies to like design their user interfaces and their instrument panels to like actually be what the pilots need versus what the engineers think the pilots need to see.
I see.
She also has this theory of like universal language that she thinks that we can have access to. She's got this book about it that I haven't read yet, but anyway, it's on my list now. So she's super interesting, very open-minded, a lot of really fun and cool and unique ideas, and just super smart. So yeah, but also like one of those smart people that somehow like keeps hold of the intuitive side, which is very cool. So
yeah, I mean, just to go back to the beginning and like talking about the kids and like their abilities, like even still, Wyatt will, like, when he hears something about what it's like to be an adult, or like what it may be, like I came home with like a really nasty a metal splinter in my finger, and he's like,
metal splinter?
Yeah, it was. Ouch. It hurt really bad. It was like at the center of my pointer finger here. And the boys noticed that I was in pain, and I was like nursing it and like doing stuff with Band-Aids and all that kind of stuff. And they were like, "What happened?" And I was like, "Oh, I was at work and I was working on this thing. I was working on a coax cable, and I was just spinning it on,
wire?
And it was one of those wires.
And it went like a copper splinter.
Yeah, and it went straight into my finger. And I explained how it all happened to him and stuff. And he's like, "Oh," he's like, "I don't want to work. I don't want to be a worker. Don't let me. I don't want to have a job. I don't want to do that, Dad. I don't want to have to do that." And I was like, "Okay, like you might not even have to. By the time you're older, maybe things will be completely different." And he's like, "Oh, okay, yeah." And then he started thinking of like he's just thinking really hard, like, "Oh, so I might not have to like just like you could see the wheels turning in his head, And he's like very in tune, like, as far as like thinking ahead and like what life might be like for himself.
Right.
And he's interested in like what we do and like what it might be like for him to be an adult. And he's mentioned multiple times not wanting to be an adult, or he's like said stuff like not wanting me to be a baby again and like stuff like that, which is just like, there's no context to it. So it's like, and especially like the podcast we have and the topics we bring up, it just makes you think, it just makes you think of like what he's thinking about and like what he.
Well, and I'm sure that means you're more open to it, and I'm sure that means you don't shut him down when he talks like that.
I'll just ask questions.
And I'm sure there are parents who would shut down talk about
or give
stuff
him
like
a very specific answer, like, "Oh, you'll have to work," or there ain't no help for you, whatever, saying some kind of like generic one-liner.
Sooner or later,
you're gonna have to be working. I think I'm gonna have to get, just little things that like shuts down the kid's imagination right away.
Right.
Because it's not playful enough. It's not imaginative enough. I like to put myself in their shoes because I was a kid once. Like imagination is huge, man.
You were a crazy kid.
Yeah, and I was very imaginative too. Like
Yeah.
And I as naturally as it happens, like I'm not so much that way now. But having kids brings that back out of you.
Totally.
It pulls it out of you because you're like, that's such an interesting thought. Like,
right.
I remember thinking those kinds of things, and like. Yeah, I wouldn't have wanted to work when I was a kid either.
Totally.
And like,
I mean, that is the most sane thing to think.
Oh, absolutely.
Honestly.
Like, oh, it looks like you're in pain, like from work, and you leave me for 8 hours a day to go do that? Like, why would anybody want to do that?
I don't want to do that.
I don't want to be that guy, you know? Yeah. Which is so sane and natural to feel and think about, you know? Mm-hmm. But anyway, yeah, I can talk about my kids all day.
For sure.
But let's continue. Let's finish this thread here because it's very interesting. So yeah, this is back to the Skywatch Signal UAP Watchers Twitter thread.
So it looks like they're going to go into each of these hypotheses in a little more detail here.
Yeah, so CH1, this is the lost humans idea. So they're saying to think Atlantis, but real. Geology erases traces of industry in mere millions of years. If an advanced culture thrived 10 million years ago, plate tectonics and erosion could have wiped the slate clean. No ruins or fossils would remain.
Yeah, that's so real. That's the whole Cerulean hypothesis where it was a legitimate scientific inquiry for some certain scientists who asked the question, how long would it take to essentially erase any evidence that an advanced civilization was here? Mm-hmm. So, like, how long would it take if you fast forward into our future? Like, let's say something comes and wipes us out tomorrow. Like,
how long would it take
for there to be no detectable traces that we were here?
Yeah.
Or so hard to detect
that it would just be fossils or...
Well, that it's just like circumstantial and it's not direct proof, right? Like if we went into the ice cores and saw like a spike in a certain thing that like is associated with industry, we wouldn't necessarily interpret it that way because we have no other supporting, right? We have no other supporting evidence to hold up that finding, right? So it would be dismissed as an anomaly, right? Mm-hmm. And so after a certain amount of time, even if there's little traces of evidence, if it's not obvious, like if those traces are nothing more than circumstantial evidence that can be explained away, then we're as good as lost. It's as good as there being zero evidence that we were here.
Right.
And that amount of time is not very long.
Yeah,
it would take to get there.
And that hypothesis would give credence to like Errol's point of view, where like if we were, you know, maybe there was a civilization here long, long ago, and over time, whether they left or were wiped out, like there just is no, like if existence has been around in like humanity, I guess not humanity, but the souls have been around for trillions of years, then 10 million years is nothing.
Right.
When you're thinking of scales of that nature.
All right, let's check out the second one.
CH2, hidden lineages. What if we weren't the only branch of hominids to make it this far? A cousin species could thrive underground, underwater, or otherwise, concealed. Could explain UAP's elusive presence. Even the Silurian hypothesis suggests prior intelligent reptiles.
Right. Yeah, that's interesting.
That's what I was bringing up. Is this idea of like a split in the lineage where some of our ancestors walked up on land to continue their life, but the other side of it, there was went underground or stayed underwater.
Right.
You know,
built underwater habitats.
Yeah, like whatever period that our ancestors started to walk on land and to grow on land, that same branch could have just been and turned into mermaids or some sort of like dolphins or, you know, some sort of other intelligent underground life form or hominid, and like
sure.
Mermaids would be a version of it. Or
see, that whole thing makes me think of, you know, there was a time on this planet where there were multiple hominid species at the same time.
Right.
Like we know we coexisted with Neanderthal, but we also coexisted with the Denisovans, and I think the
Floriensis.
Yeah, the Floriensis, and maybe even a couple others. which makes you think, like, if you go back and you look at that time, like, is it possible? Like, it almost brings to mind the picture of like a Tolkien-esque, like a Lord of the Rings type of world, where there's like hobbits and humans and dwarves and elves and right.
Yep. And giants and all sorts of types of beings.
Right. And then if something crazy happens and it wipes out most of the world, and we happen to survive in little pockets on the surface and then spread across the globe. If some of the others survived in different ways and then are re-emerging to the surface or coming back to the surface or coming up from underwater to the surface, and then they find us here, and they're like, crap, well, there's nowhere for us to settle anymore. I guess we need to stay where we're at or figure out a way to like re-inject ourselves onto the surface, but maybe we'll have to mess with the humans a little bit to make that possible.
Yeah, like in Tolkien and with the elves, they would go to, because they were like, what's the word I'm looking for? They were able to live for long periods of time, and they would go to this, they would take those boats to this like oasis or something, some like underground, like,
yeah, I forget what it was called.
I can't remember the name of it either, but
it was almost like a different realm or something.
Yeah, it was like an underground realm or something.
And they took Frodo with them when they left, right?
Yeah, and Bilbo and a lot of these other like characters.
Any of the ones that had like touched the magic.
And are able to live amongst them in this other realm because of their touching of the magic.
Right.
Yeah, it's a fascinating idea, and it makes you wonder where he came up with that idea, and you know, back to the streaming of imagination and you know, thoughts, and it makes you wonder.
All right, CH3.
CH3 is the long-term visitors. Maybe UAPs are extraterrestrials, but they've been here far longer than we think. As Avi Loeb noted, Earth or Mars could have birthed multiple technological civilizations billions of years apart. They may be locals by now.
Right.
Yeah, so there's the idea of like they are extraterrestrial in nature, coming from other planets.
But they settled here so long ago that they've been around since before we were modern humans.
Yeah.
And so in a way, this is their world. Like in a way, it's ours because we evolved here, but in a way, it's theirs because they were here first. And so
and probably
how does that
adapted
work
here as well?
Yeah.
CH4, the magical hypothesis. This is where folklore meets physics. Angels, fairies, jinn, trickster spirits across cultures, humans record encounters with humans record encounters with luminous shape-shifting entities.
Yeah.
Are these just pre-scientific encounters with crypto-terrestrials?
I mean, I think so, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, like, yeah, it could be that they're just, before we had the scientific mind of modern humans, it was our best way of describing what it is that we were experiencing.
Yeah. I just don't see any evidence to support that this phenomenon has only been happening recently. Like, I see evidence to support that there was an uptick after the advent of nuclear technology.
Sure.
But I don't see evidence to support that they were not here for a long time.
And in the modern age, since the 1940s, when our nuclear capacity has grown in such a massive, in such a magnitude, our current way of describing these things is the only way we can imagine them now.
Right.
Because pre anything 1940s, going further back, they're going to have a completely different way of, well, maybe not pre 1940s, but like pre-industrial revolution, maybe like,
maybe like they'll have a totally different technological vocabulary,
right?
Different symbolic language, different belief systems in order to like use language to try and describe what it is they're experiencing.
Right. So it's going to sound completely different than like a UAP or a UFO abducting you, or it might just be a fairy came into your room, or you were out in the woods and you saw a trickster, jinn or whatever, some sort of like spirit following you around that gave you this crazy experience.
And I think part of the reason that people have trouble with this is because in the modern age, so many of us have grown up with like Disney movies and cartoons to where those things have defined what these phenomena are
as fairy tale. Like
people who like you may know that jinn is where genies come from, right? But like if your exposure to genies is the movie Aladdin,
right,
then you don't really have a true understanding of like what the people in the Middle East actually believe that the jinn were,
and their stories of the encounters of them.
Right. Same with fairies. Like if your experience with fairies is Disney and you think of Tinkerbell, then you're going to have a hard time understanding what the Celtics actually described as the fairies. The fae people, right?
Yeah, same with gnomes and elves.
When you go back to the original cultures and their descriptions, like it starts to sound a lot more like these sort of experiencer encounters.
I would love to do a
deep
series
dive into some of that.
To go into like some of the old lore on some of these, like the fairies and the jinn.
Probably be the perfect book to do that with is Jacques Vallée's Passport to Magonia.
Ooh, we should do that.
Yeah.
I would love to just dive into some of that, like some sort of book or reading that we can do on the podcast. I think that would be very fun to do.
Yeah, I agree.
Give people a little bit more of an idea of what the older UAP, encounters were like.
Right.
Just give them an idea of that.
Well,
that'd be fun.
I can't believe I haven't read that book by now too. Like it's been recommended by like a million different UFO people I've been into. So I've had it on my list for forever. And
I started it a while ago, but then I got sidetracked by other things, of course.
Right.
That's a good one. All right. So and then they go into the authors of these stress that none of this is probable, but UAP itself is an improbable phenomena. Objects with no visible propulsion, speeds, and maneuvers that break known physics, sightings across centuries, across cultures, dismissal isn't explanation.
Right.
Great point.
That is a great point.
Skeptics cry pareidolia, face on Mars, fairy folklore, etc. But overcorrecting and calling everything pareidolia is its own bias.
Totally.
Yeah. We risk ignoring anomalies that don't fit tidy narratives.
Right.
Yeah, when you try to box everything into just a specific narrative, you're going to overlook the minor details that are going to give you more of an idea of what it truly is that they're experiencing, or the true nature of the story.
Yes.
Because story is always a metaphor. It's a metaphor for life. There are small details that you have to pay attention to, but if all you're trying to do is fit it into a box, you're going to cut off the feed of a story.
Well, and anomalies is specific, like is the whole point of science is to explain the world, right? And to help us gain an understanding of the world. And the only way we do that is by when we find anomalies is by investigating them and trying to figure out what they are.
Yeah.
Right? Like it used to be the case that, when Newton came up with his theory of gravity, he came up with an explanation that allowed us to calculate how the planets move around the sun. Right? And he was able to make really, really precise calculations, except for Mercury. Mercury was an anomaly. His theory wouldn't work for Mercury. It always broke down. Anyone who tried to apply Newtonian physics to Mercury, like it would always go out of whatever you calculated.
Right.
And it wasn't, that anomaly was a clue, right? And it wasn't until Einstein came along with relativity that we had a new groundwork, a new tool in order, and that allowed us to actually explain the anomaly. Right. So like anomalies are clues that we don't have a full understanding.
Right.
And if your attitude towards an anomaly is, oh, well, this theory is 95% right everywhere else, that's just a fluke. Brush it under the rug. That is a non-scientific, non-curious attitude, and it defeats the purpose of what science is supposed to be doing, which is to help us explain the world. Anomalies are exactly what you should be getting excited about as a scientist.
Yeah, you're saying
it's an opportunity to learn something new.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a half-glass empty way of looking at things. Like 95% of complete knowledge is basically 0%.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're not,
there's been multiple times when science has thought that like we just need to finish up a couple calculations and we've got it all worked out, right? And they thought that, and then the whole quantum revolution came. So, and there's scientists who think the same thing now, and we just need to figure out the right little formulation to allow us to unify gravity and
string theory,
quantum, right? But once we do that, we'll have it all figured out. And, you know, let's just say I doubt it.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is like, I don't doubt that they have a very good idea of how a lot of things work. The doubt that I have is how certain they are about the things that they don't understand.
Right. Well, about it's the narrative that they draw about it all, right? Like if you want to understand how a certain thing works, like a scientist is a perfect person to go to for that, right? But if you want someone to give you a story and a narrative about how the world works and about how these things connect and about what's actually going on under the hood
across the disciplines,
right? We only ever have a provisional version of that with science. And you just go back in time 100 years. It's a totally different story about how the world works. Go back another 100 years. It's a whole different story. Go back another 100 years and it's a whole different story. So are we to expect that in 100 years from now, we're going to have the same view of the world that we have now?
Absolutely not.
Right. So
yeah, and that's why I value people like Graham Hancock and Jesse Michaels and Luke Caverns and all these people who are willing to put their names on the line.
Like go out there and break some stuff and make some weird theories and like explore some weirdness
and be open-minded enough to say, I am not sure. But this is based on the science and based on the discoveries that are being currently made. This is the story that I think is the most likely.
If you go about it in an open-minded and an honest way, so that you're honest about what you don't know,
and you're open to be wrong,
but you're still asking big and weird questions that make scientists uncomfortable. Like that's what we need to happen.
And the problem,
to make progress.
Yeah. And then when somebody's going to say, "Oh, but you were wrong about this," and then they're like, "Yeah, I was wrong, and I changed my theory."
Right.
That is what scientists find the most disheartening, is because they haven't been, it's not that they're incapable of it. They haven't been historically in the last 100 years. They haven't been honest enough to be like, oh, we were completely wrong, and we need to change this narrative, and we need to allow for our story to change, based on new evidence.
They are, but only in hindsight.
Well, in hindsight, but we're talking about like discoveries 100 years ago. They're just now saying that, oh, we got that wrong. And they're willing to change their story.
Right.
But like these people who are on the front lines, like the Graham Hancocks, who are going around to the places where these things are happening and unfolding, and they're finding new evidence of things. They're going to that site directly, and they're talking to the people, and they're gaining all of the knowledge as they can to the best of their ability. And they're saying, hey, this is what I think is the most likely scenario here. And I'm open to it being wrong, but based on this, I think this, and this may have happened.
Yeah.
But the difference is they are okay with changing their philosophy and their story, but the scientists aren't. They're not willing to just scientists need to be more open to allowing philosophers to take their data and create a story and openly say, hey, this is based on the current understanding of the data and evidence.
Right.
This will change.
Right.
This is open-ended storybook we're writing here.
Right. But the approach they take is like with the Lambda CDM, which is the mainstream view of cosmology. Like with Lambda CDM, they know they don't have it perfect. Mm-hmm. They know that. But every time they think it's like 99% perfect, right? And so every time they find an anomaly, they essentially add a patch onto it, right? Yeah. Onto the boat of Lambda CDM. It springs a leak, which is an anomaly, and they just go patch it, right? And then it will spring another leak, and they go patch it. And they're like these little addendums to the theory. It's not like
rewriting it. They're not willing to go back to basics. At a certain point,
when the boat is just riddled with holes and patches,
you should rethink your design.
Maybe we need a better design, or we need a new boat, right? Mm-hmm. So
go back to square one and remake it.
Yeah, let's finish reading these last couple bits, and then let's take our next break.
Also consider that most of our oceans are unexplored. Whole land masses, like the Alaskan Triangle, remain mysterious. Biological, quote unquote, shadow biospheres could exist alongside ours. Undetected, the unknown is bigger than we admit.
Real.
The paper closes with epistemic humility. The Crypto-Terrestrial hypothesis may be exceedingly improbable, but it should nevertheless be kept on the table as we seek to understand the ongoing empirical mystery of UAP. Even if the truth sounds impossible, so do the craft we're watching.
Right.
So, aliens from Zeta Reticuli or ancient cryptoterrestrials hiding in plain sight? We may not like the answer, but ignoring it won't make the phenomenon go away. The real question is, are we the only intelligence here, or just the loudest? So this is shows the source there, which we'll link.
Which is a journal article.
Yeah, which we'll link in the show notes here if you guys want to go and read.
The Crypto-Terrestrial hypothesis.
So this is the paper from Tim Lomas, Brenden Case, and Michael P. Masters, which we've talked about Michael P. Masters in some of his work before in the past. But
he's a really
this is the whole paper
experiencer.
that thread was based on.
Ooh, I'm going to have to read this.
Yeah, which would be a fascinating read. We did the Cliff Notes version of it, but yeah, please go read this. We'll link it below. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll come back, and we've got a handful of clips talking about the tridactyl mummies found in Peru.
There's something else I want to bring up too.
Okay.
Which, I'll bring it up when we get back.
All right, y'all. All right, we'll be back shortly, and we'll see y'all in a bit.
Yeah. Representing the first class of the Unheard. Spit fire every breath till my lungs burn. Same feeling that you get when the love hurts. Double shots to the heart, but it's much worse. They said you gotta crawl before you run first. But to know truth, you must unlearn. From the heart of the slums to the suburbs, to the front lines where the kills confirm. Disturb, to convert, to converge. It's reverse, we kill to conserve. Spend the last dime we earn to come first. America's dreaming in a slumber. Wake up, I'm just an engine in the cupboard. Seeking for a lover in the midst of all this clutter. In the gutter where we roll like bowling or roll dice. Gambling with my whole life, put it on the whole line. It's about time like a stop clock. Two smoking barrels and a lock stock. Point it at your feet, make you fox stride right before you hit the ground like a top rock, like cloud. The one who looks afraid. My words are wrong, waiting to be detonated. So we take our needs and make it stay. And my words are
to serve, run with words to stun the herd, and loves prefer to clutch the burden that they drop in a community effort to catch wreck. They plotting on them, but we gotta watch the clock keep us. Time is an illusion, and using it to defeat us. The secret is to seek within. Indeed, we win. The deepest sin is self-neglect. Now let's begin to see the God principle inside of the invisible. Intangible manuals, what I listen to. Silence mainly can't explain these visions I've been getting in meditation. They train me. Serpents surrounding the compound. APEP got me out of step like lockdown. Codes coming straight from the light. Look to the sky when I need some advice. Remember who you are, that's the call of the lion. I ain't afraid of failure, that's why I'm still striving. Applying the lessons I learned as a cub, so I stay living life like a dream, one love.
I'm the only one who looks up when it's raining. My words are bombs waiting to be detonated. So we take our needs and make a stand. My words are possibilities I hold in my hand. See, I'm a simple man just like you. I just want to be heard. We all have a story to tell. Speak now or forever hold your word.
Never give up, never give in. Step to the plate, don't wait to be great.
Take your place with the greats, with the kings and the queens. It's your life, take it back, chase your dreams.
Determination, if I could build one nation, we all come together with love as a religion.
I'm living proof that anything's possible. Speak for the unheard voice that's inside of you.
Yeah, all my people in the place to be. If you jam with me, get your hands up high. Put them straight to the sky, come on y'all, be live.
My words are bombs waiting to be detonated. So we take our needs and make a stand. These words are possibilities I hold in my hand. I'm the only one who looks up when it's raining. My words are bombs waiting to be detonated. So we take our needs and make a stand. My words are possibilities I hold in my hand.
A soul is ready. If at any moment it must be separated from the body and ready either to be extinguished or dispersed or to continue to exist. But so that this readiness comes from a man's own judgment, not from mere stubbornness, as with the Christians, but considerately and with dignity and in a way to persuade another without a tragic show. Have I done something for the general interest? Well then, I have had my reward. Let this always be present to your mind, and never stop doing such good. What is your art? To be good? And how is this accomplished? Well, except by general principles, some about the nature of this universe, and others about the proper constitution of man.
Do it again, because, I just need it twice for it to sink in. There's something interesting you said about the Christians there that I didn't fully absorb.
So I'll start from the beginning. A soul is ready. If at any moment it must be separated from the body, and ready either to be extinguished or dispersed, or to continue to exist. But so that this readiness comes from a man's own judgment, not from mere stubbornness, as with the Christians, but considerately and with dignity and in a way to persuade another without a tragic show. So that's so the stubbornness of the Christians to
the soul
continuing.
Yeah. So he's saying that the soul is at any given point, it's ready to continue, it's ready to stay with the body, it's ready to disperse, or it's ready to continue on. Yeah. Whereas with the Christians,
and it's not connected to the stubbornness.
Always continues on.
Right. Or their idea of the soul continuing is their stubbornness. Like they're only interested in it continuing and not in the other facets of its existence.
Right.
So that's the stubbornness, right? In my mind.
In that they're only willing to consider that is the only option for a soul.
Yeah. And then it says, but considerately and with dignity in a way to persuade another without a tragic show. And that makes me think of like not being a martyr, not being like saying that my end is for some means.
Right.
Without some like tragic show is like where I'm getting.
Yeah, I mean, as I'm going on this journey, I'm like, for instance, in my DMT experience, dude, Marcus always brings me back to DMT, bro.
It's the philosophy of life, man.
Like, I saw that there's that, like, the soul, the non-physical you, I'll call like what we think of as a soul, right? Like that non-physical you, there's like a certain identity attached to that. Like there's a certain you-ness that continues even if you go and reincarnate, right? Mm-hmm. But that only necessarily serves the soul for so long until a certain point where it's like, all right, I've done this game. I'm ready to, maybe in his words, disperse, but maybe go up a level and rejoin the next thing up and have a new experience that is greater. And so that in the grand scheme, once you've done that enough times and experienced everything there is to experience, like you're merged back up to God. And by that point, you've been every person in every timeline in every possible universe, right? Like,
yeah.
But there's more than just like continuing on in eternity.
Yeah. Well, and what he says here too is, have I done something for the general interest? Well, then I have had my reward.
Right. Yeah, like I don't need the reward of an eternal life.
You need to do something that is to your general interest of the soul.
Right. Like he feels that he has done something that has made his life worth living, regardless of whether or not he has an eternal life afterward.
Right. Or how his soul continues on.
Right.
Like the idea that you had posed there of like, whether your soul, like there being a you-ness to your soul is only so relevant to how the soul wants to continue.
Right.
If the soul, quote unquote, is ready to go on to another aspect of existence where the you-ness that you are subscribed to in this or other life, it no longer serves the soul to have that you-ness. It goes on to another, and you've done what it is that your soul was looking for in this space, this time, this aspect,
or the combination of
them, right? Like, and it doesn't matter what time, right? We're talking about a timeless, bodiless,
time,
like non-physical version of these of life. That it doesn't matter how long it took, or how many lives it took, or how many times you incarnated it as a human on this time on this earth, and how many different lives you lived. Once your soul feels like it's done what it needs to, it's going to disperse or move on to the next.
Right.
And it also says here so what is your art? And I think that's important, like the art. It kind of reminds me of the playful nature of life, like we had spoke about before.
Yeah, like what are you creating? Like what are you contributing? What are you what are you leaving behind that proves to the world that you existed?
Yeah, or your soul, or your the tapestry of existence you are painting across the universe. Yeah. Like what is your
how
art?
Are you touching the world in a way that leaves it better than you found it?
Yeah, and it says, is your art to be good?
Right.
And how is this accomplished? Well, except by general principles, some about the nature of the universe and others about the proper constitution of man, right? So like some people's art of goodness is about the universal nature of the universe and how that is going to be, interpreted or taken.
Yeah,
but then some is about
throw like scientists and stuff in there, like who spend their art is to help us to understand the universe more than we did. Mm-hmm. But others are like helping us to understand human nature
and how the constitution of men should be changed and altered throughout time and memorial. Right. It's a fascinating quote.
It's a good one.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Just flipping a thumb through the book.
Dude, it's good for that. Eventually, we're gonna start
reading.
How do I find new ones?
Yeah.
But for now, it's great.
Mm-hmm. So you had mentioned wanting to bring something up. So
yeah. So I wanted to bring up, and we were out taking our break, and he's like, "Dude, have you heard of?" And I was like, "That's exactly what I wanted to bring up." So what I wanted to bring up was all this stuff Ben Van Kerkwyk is going over right now. He had a freaking... did you see his video?
No, I haven't actually listened to much Ben until I saw him on Joe Rogan, and I was like, "Oh shoot, he's got some new stuff." And then I listened to that entire.
Is like a must if you're into the Egypt.
I watch it all the time, but I haven't actually been watching much of him or Brothers of the Serpent lately because I've been trying to get into some other stuff, and I've been watching a lot of Jesse and.
You can't
Danny
take everything in.
I know it's so hard to take everything in, especially this not being our full-time job yet.
Right. So Ben had a whole hour and a half, almost 2 hour video on his channel about the Egyptian Labyrinth. And then another follow-up video, which is super interesting too. And then he got invited back on Rogan because Rogan saw the Labyrinth video.
Yeah.
Which in the Labyrinth topic was also his talk at the Cosmic Summit this year.
Oh, was it?
It was, yeah.
Yeah, we didn't actually do a bunch on the Cosmic Summit.
Yeah, we didn't, which we could. I still can sign in and watch them all. I still haven't actually watched them all. Anyway, so basically the Egyptian labyrinth, which has been spoken of throughout history, and some people may have heard of the Greek labyrinth, right? Which is a famous labyrinth because it's got that's where the bull of Minos was supposedly trapped in the labyrinth, and King Theseus slayed the bull of Minos in the labyrinth. There's a whole Greek mythology around their labyrinth. But in history, some of the Greeks went to Egypt and said of the Egyptian labyrinth that you could take every grand structure we Greeks have created and put it together, and it would pale in comparison to the Labyrinth of Egypt.
Jeez.
It's this underground structure that has multiple levels and just hundreds and hundreds of rooms. And basically, if you don't have a guide through it and you don't know your way, you can get lost and die down there, basically. Anyway, there's tons of references to it throughout history, so there's reason to believe it exists already. But Ben has done a phenomenal job digging through and going through all the different scientific surveys and whatnot. And basically it's been found.
Yeah.
So it's in the Hawara region of Egypt, which is this region off of the Nile where there's this offshoot of a valley, and it's just this fertile green.
Yeah.
And underneath there, it's been multiple studies, multiple scans, and it's there, but no one has dug down to it yet.
So like as far as like penetrating radar, they've found like evidence for it, or have they dug up any portions of it?
There's been ground penetrating radar. There's been different. This is one of the parts I found most interesting, is that when Ben was talking about it, he talked about these two different study groups that went down there with the approval of the Egyptian like the
Ministry of
the Ministry
Antiquities.
of Antiquities and Tourism or whatever. Under Zahi, and they both did studies, and both of their technologies were similar to the Doppler tomography that was used in
new
Giza.
stuff,
One of them sounded just like it, and the other one was similar but different. And both of them show the structure down there.
And Hawara is not on Giza. It's quite a ways away.
It's
from
I think it's
down
up the
the
Nile from Giza.
up the Nile going north, or up the Nile going south.
Well, the Nile runs north, so
Right,
up
so
the Nile is south.
toward-
Yeah,
Right.
because I think Giza is pretty close to the outlet.
It is. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's probably a few hundred miles, hundreds of miles, but
I think it's pretty close though.
yeah,
But I think Hawara is like further south.
yeah.
Anyway, it's super fascinating, and it's kind of mind blowing, and it really, really makes me. What is that sound? It makes me want to think about what it would take to.
That was probably my computer just starting up again.
Oh.
I think I knocked it.
To get some like exploration down there, like what would it take? And part of the thing that Ben is going over is that unfortunately the water table has risen there. Back in the 60s, there was a long time ago, there was this dam put on the Nile, but the dam was small and the Nile would still like flood.
Overflow it, yeah.
And the Nile, like that was what the Nile is famous for, is flooding every year, right? And bringing these fertile silts and whatnot to like allow for the farming.
A lot of minerals and stuff, yeah.
Right. But then in the 60s, they built this really big dam on the Nile. And ever since then, the groundwater has actually risen. The groundwater, like the water table has risen underground. And a lot of sites that used to be accessible have since been flooded out.
Right. Underground structures and underground sites that were possible to go into.
Yeah,
now
and
full
the
of
Labyrinth
water.
is one of them. But in one of the scans shows that there could be some of like one of the levels, like some of the rooms may not actually have been penetrated by water. Which makes me wonder like how they could get into it without also flooding it.
Yeah, unless you go straight down or something into it. But even then, you might tap into some sort of like channel of water.
And so Ben had this really interesting point about why.
How deep was it?
So both of these studies, they found the labyrinth.
Yeah.
And then the studies were buried because the
Egyptian
Ministry of Antiquities was like, no, like
Not yet.
like the way those rights work apparently in Egypt is that they'll give you the right to do your study, but part of the deal is that they get to choose when and where and how
the study becomes popular or becomes
gets put out to the public.
Yeah.
And so in the case of these, they were buried.
Yeah.
And one of the teams just was like, after a couple years, was just like, fuck it, we're just going to drop it. And they just dropped it. But it still didn't get like big news attention.
Oh, they dropped the actual they dropped the story, but because it didn't have the backing of the Egyptian people,
it didn't get like the big press coverage that it could have.
Right.
Like if it had happened today, it would have gotten all these YouTubers and stuff.
Right.
But because it was back then in a different media environment, it just didn't get picked up and
didn't get the traction.
Yeah. So
I thought you meant they dropped it like, oh, we'll forget about
no, like
it.
they released it.
Okay.
But anyway, so Ben had this really interesting point when he was talking about it, and I think it was really kind of like I think a valid theory on what. Anyway, he thinks that essentially what's happening here is that Egypt is in a really tough spot because Egypt is this country that has to import like 90 to 95% of the food that their people eat. They can barely, they can't grow enough food to feed their people. They're a mass importer of food. They need to grow as much as they can. And to that purpose, things like the dam were built in order to make the land more stable so that it can... For agriculture, right. The problem with that is that it raised the water table. And so the water table being risen is really a big problem if a giant chunk of the ancient Egyptian artifacts and finds are underground. Yeah. And so they're kind of in a pickle. Can they, they can't exactly just destroy the dam, right? And to explore some of these areas that are flooded out is really expensive. You need to get these expensive energy consuming pumps to pump out, and you get these geophysical engineers to figure out where the water's coming in. So maybe that you could divert it through different channels to divert the groundwater away. There's things you could do, but they're not cheap. And Egypt's priority is feeding its people. And so, they're kind of in a pickle. And he thinks that it may be the case that this is the reason that these things were buried rather than, because it kind of looks bad. Hey, we found the great Labyrinth of Egypt, which we'll never excavate because it's underwater.
I think we need to start a petition to make Egypt's greatest export, which can and should fund the other countries to support their feeding their people, human history.
Yeah.
Their greatest export should be the discovery and excavation of human history. And we will, in turn, as a human population, make sure your people are fed.
Right. And this is part of what Ben was saying is that not so much to destroy the dams and stuff and lower the water table that way, but it's okay that these projects are expensive, but if you at least announce them and make them public to the world and be hey, but we
need help. We need help doing these things.
Yeah, we need help to make doesn't the whole world want to know the answer to this?
Right.
Yes, we do too, but we're kind of in a pickle. So help us out. Let's figure out how to pump these things dry and go explore them.
Yeah.
And Ben thinks that if they were to take that sort of attitude, that they could achieve that. And I tend to
nowadays,
agree.
I think that's
I tend to agree. Especially with social media and stuff. If the world were to find out that and another thing that the other historians would say was all of the other stuff that Egypt did is nothing in comparison to the Labyrinth.
Right.
So the Egyptians have some of the craziest
historical
surviving monuments of anywhere in the world. So if everything we've seen so far pales in comparison to this, we've got to get down there and we figure out what's going on and what does it reveal
what hieroglyphics might be down there? What sort of information
about what the Egyptians could do and
where maybe it has the whole story of everything and down there.
Yeah,
there might be chambers hidden in there.
To me, it sounds like a survival area. It sounds to me
an underground survival area.
To me, it sounds like there's this whole elaborate underground complex for surviving a cataclysm. That's
just like
what I think.
Just like the what was the name of it in Turkey?
In Turkey, what do they call that?
I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah. The big caverns there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the big underground shelters,
big
underground
cities, underground cities, basically, that could support tens of thousands of people.
If what the Greeks said about the Egyptian labyrinth is true, and how it makes everything pale in comparison to it, like we could be talking about an entire millions of people who survived underground,
and then
during a specific time frame.
One of the scans that scanned the area, also the people who did the Giza scan are going to scan this too.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. But one of the scans, they were describing what they were seeing down there. And check this out. It said in one of the chambers, they see like a 40-foot long metallic tic-tac shaped object.
I did hear about that, but I didn't dive any further into that specific.
Yeah, that's one of those 2 scan studies that they said that they found something like that down there. Dude. Which is crazy.
Bro. Well, what if this is the home base for the
Crypto-Terrestrial stuff, right?
What if this is the Crypto-Terrestrials home base?
Dude, right?
And water or air, they don't care. They just live down there, and
I mean,
maybe that's why it was kept secret.
It sounds like this stuff is old and out of use, but because it only recently got flooded. Because maybe there was people as recent as like the 1800s who went down and into the
before they were flooded.
Labyrinth. Yeah. People who like pretty recently said that they've seen it. But yeah.
We need to know.
We need to
know.
And Ben has a really good point that like because of the groundwater, it's especially destructive because of the saltiness of the sands and whatnot. It's causing all of these like crystal formations to build up. And those crystal formations can be very destructive of whatever's down there. And also, if there was anything like papyrus and stuff down there, if it's flooded, that shit's gone.
Yeah.
So like we really need to figure out a way to get that drained as quickly as possible if we want to preserve anything that's down there.
If it's not all destroyed already, yeah.
Right.
And if we get down there and maybe there's some relics of hieroglyphics or some sort of writing on the walls or anything, a metallic object in a chamber that's could be something, could be the Holy Grail, could be something, you know? Gosh, yeah.
Dude, it's fascinating.
I want
to do a whole deep dive on that.
Yeah, and go over all the different details of what's been uncovered.
Yeah,
with this, so fascinating. Yeah, cool. Well, we're about ready for another break.
We're over for another break, so we could do another break and do another segment, or you want to call it? Either way, I'm down.
Yeah, I think maybe we call it and then we come back and we do a little bit more on the Nazca mummies next time.
Yeah,
I think maybe if we go into a little bit of Ben Van Kerkwyk's work on this, I think that would be a good dual use of an episode next time.
Sure. Well, whatever.
I think that works for us. Yeah. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us this week. This was a little bit shorter episode than usual, but if you guys enjoyed any of the topics, please email us, comment, like, subscribe. It's all helpful for the algorithm and to get this podcast in the hands of other people who are online searching for this stuff and maybe don't know the keywords or the to type in to find this stuff. YouTube or Apple or any of those platforms will help push it to people if you guys like, comment, subscribe. If you guys want to go to our website, it's got literally everything we need or you need if you guys want to dive into more of our episodes. It's dualitycheck.net. As we scroll through it here, it's got all of our different episodes, all the artwork and the description of the episodes, and there on the right side there, it's got all of our different tags for the topics. So if you click on Egyptians, it'll pop up every episode where we bring up Egyptians and have tagged it in there. So you see we've got the SAR scans and the reincarnation and Hancock versus Flint Dibble debate and all sorts of episodes on the Egyptians and So it's a one-stop shop for all the resources you need for this podcast. If you guys want to reach out to us directly, you guys can hit us up at host@dualitycheck.net. That's our email. We'll check that weekly, and we'll shout you out on the episode if you want. If you don't want us to, let us know. We'll just read it privately and respond privately. If you guys want to watch our video version of the podcast, you can look at us, find us on YouTube and Rumble. And we usually post our episodes on Tuesdays, sometimes Wednesday mornings, depending on how our internet is and whether or not we have enough time.
I've been doing a lot of traveling on Mondays, which has been my normal edit day. So because I've been traveling and had crappy hotel
spotty internet,
I haven't been able to do the edits all the time. So we've been doing a lot of Wednesday or late Tuesday releases. So sorry about that, but But
if you want to stay in the know on when we're dropping our episodes, we'll follow us on Instagram or Facebook. We'll tell you when our episodes are dropping. Hopefully y'all enjoyed this. If you guys want to rate or comment or subscribe on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, you guys, there's rating, there's commenting, there's all sorts of ways to get involved in the community. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us this week, and we'll see you next week on Duality Check. Peace out.